hello, hi. It is me, it is I, Small Town GD, your Khadi, on DJ where internet's akastrat hello. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let your people know about me, girl Nandi. Let me tell you something. By September, engaban kinal zafaga so like fandom. I don't know. Because these girls have me out here swinging for my life. And it's only the 4th of Feb. Oh, it's my mom's birthday, by the way. It's just the 4th of Feb. And I'm fighting. In the trenches. Asimikali, maneo, sne, re, Nandi, all you had to do was shut up, girl. Do you realize, Rich, right? I don't believe in that. I don't believe in it. But, okay, a case for Nandi. Let's start with a case for Nandi. I hope I'm not blurry, but y'all come to hear. Oh, aren't my flowers pretty? I had, a breakfast station that I had to set up at the weekend. One of my very good friends was getting married at the weekend, or they were finishing up her traditional stuff. She's yeah. But the point is, how cute is the color story? I know, die. Anyway, see, I told you I love this shit. I try to tell you. You gotta believe me that I love this shit. Like the prettiness of a wedding. Darling. Nandi, does she go by Madida? Nandi, baby, I did not call that girl. You know you girls love to change your names and identify by a stranger's name. So I never know what you are this week, babe. It is Madida. You know how y'all do that. Oh, y'all, I'm taking my man. Girl. Anyway, I've been you Nandis this way. How do I know Nandi's this way? When men are trash, like the movement was strong and gaining ground, especially on Twitter, and I was never on Twitter. But it was like men are trash, hashtag men are trash. And all the men were like, all the trash were like, I'm not, and I don't know why I'm trash, man, all of them. When they were all doing that stuff, Nandi came, I don't know how y'all forgot this, because this would not have shocked you. I don't know, there's something about a babe rocking her natural hair that has people automatically putting her in a certain box in terms of her political views and what her analysis may be around social issues and things like that. There's something about that where we want to just tack on a certain kind of worldview to a and there's something to be said around that, right? It's not something to throw away. Generally, if you are presenting yourself a certain way, you're either leaning into something or, opting out, right? Like there's something about your presentation that speaks to you fully engaging in respectability politics or opting out, right? So it's not all the way wrong, but I feel for the babes who forgot, this may have hit them a little hard because they've decided that she's their natural hair queen and this is where they put her, right? But Nandi all those years ago was like, this isn't something she can say because she has such a wonderful dad. This ain't even about your fucking daddy, babe. It's never been about your daddy. And that's what I don't like. Do you see now? I went through the effort of getting up on a chair, and I'm afraid of heights. Getting up on a chair to put because I don't have curtains in here. Don't ask me why. In my mind, I get them done every other week and they never get done. To put up a cloth, a tablecloth even, to blot out the light. This is why I hate recording, okay? Because I was going, it was just flooding on me and it wasn't working out. Now that I've done that, litigate, just like that. And if I take it off, we're gonna, y'all know we don't got a ring light no more because we're poor. I can't. Let me try. Girl, whatever. Okay, we're in the dark. It's South Africa. Don't act like Eskom don't do this to you all the time. Like, please. Mid all types of stuff, okay? But anyway, Nandi was like, yo, I can't say that because my dad. And that's when I knew. And I've kept that at the back of my mind. And I'm gonna make a case for Nandi and say, this is not cause for us to throw Nandi away. Nandi's one of those situations where I feel like we can just agree to disagree on this thing and continue to engage it on a level and sort of let it go. Because I watched the entire interview, right? And even in the entire interview, some of her takes are making sense to me. I'm in agreement. So I don't think it's one of those instances where we're just like, throw the babe away. Throw the entire natural hair babe away. It's not one of those situations, but they clipped it the way they clipped it for clickbait reasons, for virality reasons, and they got the reaction that they did this for. They could have chosen there's a part, I don't know if this part is viral. There's a part of the interview, she's on Altita's podcast, and if I can, I'm just going to have a clip here. You guys can hear what she said out of her own mouth, okay? What's gone viral, rather, of what she said.
I don't think you listened. I said, I don't want to ask a girl to get married too quick. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you are my blueprint because I've seen a successful marriage. Yeah. So I'm asking, okay, let me not jump the gun. Yeah. Maybe I should wait for a year or 2 years. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
Well, don't make her wait too long.
Okay, what's too long?
Another red flag. I think anything, well, I mean, everyone's different.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to start World War II and 3. Guys, you know when you're playing with that girl. Maybe when we're going over 5 years.
Okay. That's
you know what I'm saying? I think that's reasonable. Yeah. I mean, everyone's different also. There may be financial constraints as well, which is a real thing. I think also we need to give our men grace for that, especially our black men. You know, you guys have gone through a lot.
That's why I used to say she was a queen. Remember? I take it back. Everyone. Yeah.
But I do have to advocate in a very genuine way. Seriously, our black men have gone through so much. And financially, it's almost impossible to try and empower yourself, even when you're trying. You know, the system's against you. You know, people don't have support from the government. You have 400 years of being, oppressed. Where's this money going to come from? You know? And so we do have to give our fellow black men grace. And if you can see the intention is to do better, and make someone something serious, that's a good guy.
Yeah.
And I mean that genuinely. I always say that, like, black men, particularly, I'm going to speak about South Africa because I'm proudly South African. You guys are up against so much.
And I think it's interesting because we never have these conversations. And the rhetoric and the narrative out there is like, I am not Bob the Builder. I'm not building any man. And we're not saying take a guy that's a bum, that has no vision, that has no ambition, and make him your man. But it's like everyone is still working on themselves. I think we judge each other like very harshly. We're looking for people who are already made or who are like already perfect. And I think that's why there's so much miscommunication between males and females.
So well said. I mean, obviously now there's more pressure because of social media. So there's this misconception that there should be no struggle. Or just, get the bag. And that's not realistic. In a real world, in everyday world, you're trying the best you can. But also there's concrete evidence about this. There's law pre-94 about this, where there's the Mine Workers Act, the Migrant Workers Act, for example, where, miners had to leave provinces, like, for example, KZN to Johannesburg and avoid Altitos. And, but it was like a real thing where you're leaving your family. So really, the apartheid system was intentionally breaking our families. It's not a coincidence that a place like South Africa, in the diaspora, wherever there was a lot of oppression in that intensity, and a lot of the oppressors being and living amongst black people, where you see broken homes, because it was there. There was a system that ensured that. So we need to be smart, and I want to speak to the youth here because I'm very passionate about the youth, that we need to understand what it is. So if you look on social media, you'll hardly get any other people of any other race, and not to make this about race, but it's the truth, where they're not hating on their men, and men aren't hating on their women. Why is it that it's us?
It's a black thing.
It's a black thing.
They chose to clip this. They had the option to clip the parts where she's making a case for the fact that, because Altito builds on this and says, he says he's not making a case for bums, but what he's saying is, it seems like we want an already made man and nobody's willing to build with the person because the narrative is fuck, I'm not about to be Bob the Builder, fuck that Kipopo life, type of thing. So he makes that case and then goes on to like segue into coming at slave queens or sugar babies and women who are dating older men for, economic reasons and stuff. And she makes a case for it. She's like, if our landscape wasn't what it was economically, if the girls were getting employment and they were being empowered through other ways, no young woman would really willingly put herself in that position if the climate did not call for it. So that's why I'm saying she's not the just like she's not, we can decide, but I don't think we need to now become all of these because I'm seeing it already, but Nandi said give them grace, and she did. I suppose that's her bed. She has to lay in it a bit. The sit down as a whole, you have to be a Nandi fan, which I'm not. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't stand Nandi, but I'm not a Nandi oh my God. But you have to like her to sit through the interview, because otherwise it's nothing in particular. If you are a person that listens or watches podcasts to walk away having learned something, or walk away having felt like you now know bits of this person that you didn't have access to before, and you walk away with a different perspective of them, or all of that, you're not going to get from this. This is just two people sitting down, having a cackle, and that's it. In my opinion, it's not really worth a watch. If you want to go hear the parts where they talk about this, it's around the 36-minute mark. Start watching from there. The 35th maybe, because it starts with Altito asking her, what do you think is a good period to date somebody before you propose? And it builds from there, and he's trying to really get to the bottom of how long did her and Zake's date before the proposal happened. And then it builds from there. So it starts at around, let's say 34, 35, 36 minute mark. You can watch about 10 minutes from there. And then you'll see where you really fall off. But it's really nothing to sit down, and it's not bad. Unless you have it playing in the background while you're minding your own business. It's not enriching in any kind of way. I'm sorry. It just isn't. But let's get into what Nandi said. Nandi said, we need to give black men grace. They are going through so much. What the fuck are they going through? I'm always trying to understand. This is why we're all laughing at the male loneliness epidemic angle that they're pushing. What in the fuck are men going through? In this particular instance, she says, I'm speaking to specifically a South African context because I'm proudly South African. Those were her words, right? And she's like, black men have gone through so much. Our men, first of all, I don't ever fucking claim them like that. I'm not their anything and they're not my anything. I don't feel a deep kinship to black men. I don't feel a deep camaraderie even. I don't feel a sense of community with black men. I find them to be the weakest link in our chain, and they are part, if not the biggest perpetrators of why the fuck it is we end up in the situations that we're in. If you don't believe me, look at all the commissions that are going on right now. Okay? Look at the way they choose themselves to advance themselves. Very short-sighted. If you're gonna make the case of black men having gone through so much, you can't do that like they were separate from black women. When black women are they come under them. How the fuck were they going through so much? What were they going through that black women have not been subjected to, on top of having to deal with their fractured egos from having to be the CN to the bus? What was happening there? There's this thing, this is the Yanla argument again. It's the Yanla argument again of telling black women to once more not have any high standards when it comes to black men, because woe is them and they're going through so much. Lower your expectations, make accommodations, even though this person is not only going to perform as patriarchy says. And by the way, she makes an argument for being a patriarchy princess, so I'm leaning into her shit right now, right? She talks about her man's ex being a provider, coming from, a line of men who have been providers, her dad being a doctor who's taking care of the home financially and things like that. It's not in a braggadocious way. It comes across like it comes up very organically when Tito's asking about her upbringing. So it's not even like you won't be put off by it, is what I'm saying. And she wasn't trying to say, oh, look at me. It was just coming up like regular. Okay? I will say that. Which explains how we end up here with her thinking black men are people to advocate for. Using your voice at any point in time as a black woman to advocate for black men and say that's what you're doing. I must advocate for our men here. Girl, advocate. Are you okay? In femicide South Africa, that's what you want to. That's why I understand. And as much as I'm saying it's not a case to throw Nandi out, I understand the vitriol. I understand the aggression with which she was met with in this very country. They were making green circles just a few months ago here in November. They were making green circles when we were trying to advocate for ourselves, for saying we're being killed here and there aren't consequences, there aren't resources to help us when we find ourselves stuck in domestic abuse situations. This is a problem in this here land. While we were saying this group of men that you're saying we must have grace for, and you can't separate them. You don't get to sit here and say to us, I wasn't talking about that particular group of people. I was talking about these kinds of men because they're the same men, okay? They are the same exact men and they stick up for each other and they all claim they don't know one who's like that. All of them do this, and that's why it is, yes, all men are trash, including your fucking daddy, because you don't even know that man. You know your dad. You don't know if he's groping like he's colleagues at work. You don't know what the fuck that man is doing. And men are very capable, everybody is, but men especially, of leading double lives, of presenting themselves as this thing here and being this other thing here. So you would do yourself a service to shut up and not lend yourself to protecting, or to advocating for men. A change in behavior on a large scale would be men advocating for themselves. A change in behavior when Women for Change says we're marching for this and men don't support this and speak out against these things, that would be them. That's the advocacy that they need. Not pretty Nandi coming on here and saying, I must now talk about 400 years of who was beside them. What were they going through that we weren't, what are you on about? And then she goes on to talk about how she's like, y'all, because I don't believe in the nuclear family. So whenever somebody starts to make an argument for the nuclear family, that's such a Christian, colonial influence to me that I roll my eyes and I move on, right? Because you can't make an argument for the nuclear family and then want to infuse some African things in it. I don't know what you're doing there. When she says, we weren't like that before they got here, and all of that. We didn't treat each other like that. And this is what they did. They came here, and the migrant culture that came from it, of men having to leave their homes, magaeng, and go work in the mines and stuff, that's what decimated the family structure. That was never our family structure. The nuclear family was never fucking that, and that's why it doesn't work. That's why it's not working now. It's not working. It's not working. It's actually a failed project that you're all continuing to do to make it's the only family model that really works. It's not working, babe. It's not. It's born of capitalism and Christianity, and those two are like this. To me, they're the same thing. So I don't know what to tell you. You can't make that argument. And then she forgets the part where they get to the mines and start a whole new family. These men the families were fractured and they were going through so much, they were fine. They didn't have to parent. Okay? They got to the mines. They got new women whom they married and gave papers to, and when they died, their wives and Makaya got fucking nothing. That's who you want us to give grace to. Right? They double lives that they lead. And if they move from this month, they would get there and do the same thing. That is who they are. And at no point did they ever have to wholly show up as a husband or a father to anybody. They like that element of it. We can talk about the harsh conditions of the mind on a different video, not with me, not on this channel. Because I just want to talk about this part that I'm telling you about now. Because she brought it up. It doesn't work. Most African cultures, multi-generational households. And you see it now in your little nuclear families that you want, and you want your own space. When you give birth and you want your mom to assist you, or your mother-in-law, whomever has to come on in, that right there is the proof we need that this nuclear shit is exactly that. It's shit. It doesn't work. It does not work. You two alone, and then we're man and women, and it doesn't work. It's never worked. Okay? That's how you end up now having to outsource things that were historically built into the multi-generational family structure. Okay? Argo walking in capitalism, now you need to like source the labor. For somebody to care for your child when the grandparents were there to do that. When the aunts were always around to do that anyway. It just doesn't work. But poor men, like back to poor men. Like I was so lost as to the grace that we're supposed to extend to these people. Because her argument here is that men, we're talking about like getting married, and with us that involves money, right? You need to pay a dowry, it's a thing, right? And with most African customs anyway around marriage and things like that, right? And it goes there for her to say sometimes a man is not asking because he simply cannot afford to. Nandi, who earlier in the same video was talking about how Zakes has kept his promise to her to keep her soft because she enjoys being soft and feminine, and he enjoys being able to provide for her. And she says, I am independent, I make my own money, but because I come from being taken care of by my father, and she's now the property of her husband, girl, I don't know, that's what that language sounds like to me. And he's not, she's saying to you bitches, even though Zakes is doing this for me, you must put up with Thabang, because in Altino's words, Thabang is providing love. In peak late stage capitalism, he's providing love. Oh. Low-key like low-key, they think you are some kind of a stupid. They think that. Because I'm saying you, because me, I'm not interested in this institution. I know it's rubbish for me. And like I am so incompatible with it. I was recently on the phone with somebody who says to me, who knows that I don't desire marriage. And then I'm like, nah, I'm not. He's like, no, I think you'll change your mind. I think you will. I'm like, I won't. He's like, I think you will. I'm like, I will. Then he keeps saying it. I'm like, cool. Like, men don't understand why you don't want to shade your identity for them. Why wouldn't you want to? It's such a great honor. Girl, what? Get the fuck out. Okay. She says you must put up with broke Thabang if he's being genuine. Why isn't she with him? Why isn't she with him? He's so genuine, right? Why is she not with a version like that of a person? I mean, to be fair, she did agree to be like a step parent to 3 kids when she didn't have one of her own. There's that. The thing is like, when there's money, these things are possible. Step parenting where there's no money? Oh my God. How y'all doing? Right? How y'all doing? Altida says we're now like existing in a space where the girls would rather date the criminals because you just say, fine, they say, right? Because there needs to be a little thing there. Little disclaimer. Hey, we're not saying date bums. You are. I raise you. Men are not entitled to women's affection. Okay, that's what I raise you. instead of making the argument to tell women to lower their standards and the quality of life they could have by themselves. Because being partnered with a man has you laboring. Being partnered with a man is taking years off your life. Now imagine being in that situation and being financially stressed as well. So what in the fuck are you getting out of that situation? Resist the urge to say companionship. They're not great at that. They're not great at shit. They're not even great at conversation. So resist the urge to say that. Companion. What? That's what they say. Men are not entitled. This brings me to Stephen Butler. Is it Butler or Butlet? What is his name? The guy from The Diary of a CEO. A trended. If I can find that clip, it'll go here.
Huge amount of men between the age of 15 and 50 will not pass on their genes. They will effectively die out of the gene mating pool. So people will hear that and many people will go, well, that's evolution. Should society intervene? Why is, in the short term, we're going to have a lot of men who are disillusioned, that become incels, find themselves in pockets of the internet, are resentful, all those kinds of things. But should society intervene to course correct that? Should we put systems in place to make sure that those men meet partners?
There's a whole generation of men that is like, we are literally watching them die out in real time. We've got 32-year-olds, 35-year-olds who do not have children, do not know how they're going to ever have children. Some people like, just put yourself out there, just work on yourself and things will work out. But they have something in their makeup, something in their attachment style, something in their tendency for social anxiety that allows them to put forth effort and succeed. And then there are these other people over here who will go to therapy, who will work on themselves professionally, who will show up on dating apps. And because of the shape of their face, which cannot be fundamentally altered, or some other thing which they're not even aware of. There's this whole crop of people who I think are trying really hard. I don't think they're losers. I don't think they're like pathetic or anything like that. I think there's something about the architecture of how these people are built so that standard advice does not apply to them. I almost wonder, is there a mechanism in a human being that if your genes know they're dying out, what would they trigger in your mind? Right? And I think what they would trigger is exactly what we're seeing. This like existential panic, angst, even aggression, entitlement. Because if these men do not behave in this way, they're literally going to die out.
Steven sat down with Dr. K of Healthy Gamer. I'm familiar with both. I've consumed both their content. Not like religiously, not like a fan type of like I'm really in it. If it's an episode on and they're talking to somebody I want to hear from, or Dr. K is addressing somebody or an issue that I want to hear from and stuff, he's kind of like he came up on my radar a few years ago now when the Manosphere stuff also started entering my feed. And he was sort of like the counter to that, Dr. K, of Healthy Gamer, right? And I know him predominantly from YouTube. And he's I think he's a psychologist. And there was a lot of him trying to help young men and teenagers sort of assume a lot more responsibility for themselves and how they got to the place that they are at, instead of this deflection and blaming women thing that is at the core of how the Manosphere content works and how it becomes successful, is that you can absolve yourself of any kind of accountability as to why you are not likable, why you're not getting play, basically like personal development, but with like a because that's his field, right? And he's also one of those where we don't throw them away, but we go, because it's a man. You always must like never take your fucking eye. Can't take your fucking eye off of them, because once in a while they'll veer, of course. Once in a while, that default setting will kick in and they will want to be like, working on yourself is so much harder. How's about we just take the rights away from these bitches? That would be a lot easier. We don't need to worry about being pleasant people, how it's linked to the Nandi thing. Instead of saying, because Nandi's thing is like, no, it's so hard, even though you're clawing your way out, you can't. And I'm always trying to understand, guys, is it just happening to them? I come on here crying every second week, tears and all. There are weeks where you don't hear from me, you don't know where the fuck I am. In my blankets, babe. That's usually where I am. In my blankets, crying at the state of my life. Okay? Trying to figure out a way out of that. And at no point do I think it's these men. if men were just nicer to me, if men would just give me a chance, if a rich man, right, the rich man would only just see that I'm actually a wonderful girl and just offer to take care of me. But for some reason, we're expected as women, especially you all as attractive women, right? Just give the incel a break, right? He went viral for talking about how there's some men who studies are showing that they are not going to get to like pass on their DNA, like it's some birthright, like, and that's what's confusing to us women as to, do you really believe just by existing you're born, therefore you deserve companionship? Like, you're born, therefore you deserve to like replicate. I know you don't believe that, except I know you do, and that's why we're in this problem now. That's why they're saying the bitches over on that other side can't get them some abortions now, right? And there's nothing in place to help you care for. It's just, no, a man gets to like put a baby in you and yay him. Men, in as far as they are going to, and as far as patriarchy is concerned, and as far as they're going to define themselves through this narrow lens of provider, like she's described, Nandi has described her husband, Zakes, to be. If they are going to continue to play those games, then women will also continue to value them through that lens. Because let's be so for fucking real. Doing the work outside of, I'll just bring in money, like working on being a pleasant person to be around, on being a likable person to, that's a lot harder for them. It is a lot harder for them. They really want to be assholes with money. Okay? And in the absence of money, they want to be assholes, and you should understand, because that is apparently inherently a masculine characteristic. My brother needs to check what's going on back here. Men want to get the things that the men with the means get in here, capitalism. That's what they want for us to do. They want women to labor, and they want what they want, right? They want you to still be good looking, to give them pretty kids, or go away, you know, all of that stuff, while they are offering nothing except for them being a man, because they think that is something. Like, all of these things that I listed that's expected of you, if they aren't able to provide, they're still a man, therefore entitled to those things. I promise you. And I don't know if Nandi's hearing herself, but that's what she's saying to the girls. She's saying, even when he has nothing, okay, you need to consider the fact that systematically he's starting at the back foot. Who isn't? Like, between me as a black woman and him, who isn't? It's shit like that where I'm just like, yo, stop. Stop. Just stop. Dr. K's response to Stephen is one of those things where I was just like, you needed to sit this one out. He talks about how, okay, I'm going to answer this with another question. If there was a genocide, would we be obligated to stop it? Okay, as Gaza something I'm imagining. Shut the fuck up, Dr. K. This is not, like, men aren't going extinct, unfortunately, for us. Nothing is happening to them. Okay? And men aren't concerned about women or the fact that we're so lonely, and they're not particularly concerned about the incels either. They're concerned with what the revolt could look like for the small group of men who are hoarding these resources. That's what they're fucking concerned about, as to what does it look like when the incel, which will make up the bulk of the men who can't get play, while we are clawing for the 10% of men that have managed to hoard resources for themselves. What danger do that group of men pose to them as the men in that 10%? They don't give a shit about those men, and they don't give a shit about us either. It's not even about that. Okay? It's about what that revolt looks like for them. It's about the fact that if we're not making enough people, who do they get to exploit? All of this life is so precious. There's enough people on this planet. I'm afraid I'm one of those people who believes that. They quite frankly just is. We're like ants just climbing on top of each other at this point. Like, calm down. That's all I had to say about Nandi. Don't throw away. She made other great points in the interview. She really did. About other stuff. But on this one, I think the way your fellow country women met you on this one, you should sit and reflect. And it's one of those things I've said to you guys a while ago as well, that when you look around and it's too many men on your side on whatever it is you're saying, you're probably saying something that is harming women or something that's just not useful to you as a woman. You don't know what it's like as Nandi to be partnered to a man who's not able to participate in the system and self-actualize in the way that they tell him this is what makes a man. You don't know what it's like to have to deal with that bruised ego in order for you to sit here and encourage us to engage that ego and try to build with that fractured man. You don't know that life. You don't. I know you don't necessarily always have to live something in order to have a take on it. If you know you can analyze things enough, most times you can look at a situation and be like, I know I've never experienced this, but perhaps this is the way it should be. This is one of those things where even the way you were raised, all we've done, right, just like Iyanla, all black women have ever done is have grace and accommodate black men. How do we know this word here? Our moms accommodated our like less than impressive, mediocre, dads. The women before that, all the generations of women saying, we're in the trenches together, we're going to claw our way out, and then they get done in, right? Or they experience abuses, or they experience an ungrateful man who goes off and thinks that he can marry a second wife and do all time. This is what grace, that the results of giving men grace, we have them in abundance, okay? The polls are in. We've seen what it looks like to give an undeserving man grace. You don't get a fucking thank you. You get a slap in the face for being a dirty, dumb bitch. I almost got off here without saying dumb bitch. I almost did. That's progress. That's great progress if you ask me. Don't ask that of us. Those of us who want to do that, we will. But don't ask it of us. Okay? Slews and generations of women put themselves in this position. And they got not a thank you. They got a, when a man gets on and his shit is on and popping, they got a, but I didn't ask you to do that. That's what the fuck they got. And then you're sitting here and your man, according to you, makes it such that you can be soft and feminine. This narrative is another thing that I just need you bitches to do away with this year. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know if it's because I'm an anxious person, so I wonder if the idea of a fickle ass man taking care of business, like there's no appeal there for me. Because I'd be riddled with anxiety of not knowing where the fuck money's coming from and not having my own. That's on Nandi's case, right? Nandi is saying that she's independent, she still makes her own money, but she's also in a position where her man can hold fort, like if need be, and when need has, come up, if you would like. But me, I would not be like sitting at home. There's no draw. Like I'd be soft and feminine. The fuck does that even mean? What does that mean? Have you seen women in labor? Have you had a chat with your friends who've been in labor? What the fuck is soft about that? And that is like creation being what we know is feminine energy. That birthing, that part of creation, that's the height of it. What in the fuck is soft about that to you? And then come back and explain to me, what do you mean by soft and What do you mean? You're grown. You should want to and be able to take care of yourself. Wanting to relinquish that responsibility into a man will never track to me. Ever. Do you know what my English teacher once said to me? And I should say this every 3 videos, so you bitches remember. Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Lee came from, her dad is an Englishman, and they settled here. I think she still had dual citizenship. And she was really a South African girl, had a South African accent, but had a lot of ties to like where her dad is from, because I think they went back and forth a lot as kids or whatever the issue is, but she's familiar enough, right, with England to talk about it in a way, right? And I remember somebody asking her, yeah, guys, Mrs. Zito, hey, this hurt. This hurt a great deal. Somebody's like, they're talking career choices, and somebody's like, man, what do you think about being a teacher? This girl, dead ass, said, no, it's all right to be a teacher like me if you have a wealthy husband. And I tell you, she then continued talking about something. Like, she didn't sit in it. She didn't wait for a reaction. She didn't elaborate. She said what the fuck she said. Now, here we are, okay, in her with her teacher salary, she will probably be able to afford to take care of herself, right? But like Nandi's saying that she can afford to take care of herself, she likes that her man can also. But unlike our teacher, Mrs. Lee, Nandi was saying to us, we must just like give them a chance. But do you know men, when they know that they are not where they're supposed to be, they can play a role. This idea that as long as he's trying what? Trying what? What is he trying? What do we mean by that? Now I'm telling you, if you define yourself through this thing, I'm gonna have to judge you through this thing. And men identify themselves through the scripture. As long as men identify themselves through this narrow lens, I can't judge them past a scope that they don't have access to, because I'll harm myself. If I choose to see them for their humanity, appreciate them for their creativity, but that man is like this and he's a provider, and you decide to value him for the other things that he's doing that he doesn't place much value in, when he gets on, he will leave you for a bitch that also values him through the only lens that he values, which is the provider. Okay? That's what's gonna happen, because that bitch can stroke his ego the way he wants it stroked. She can love him the way he wants to be loved, which is through his ability to provide for her. All it is, we both like Batman. Girl, I don't know what to tell you. Come be with me then. I'll be a man. I also like Batman, babe. Like, buy it. Don't throw Nandi away, yellow. Yeah. Bye, yellow.